Aloha! Today's episode is brought to you by the Western Extension Risk Management Education Center, USDA NIFA, and the University of Hawaii, College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources, and the Livestock Extension Group.
Aloha, welcome everyone to the Livestock Walaʻau, a podcast aimed to provide educational support, information, guidance, and outreach to our livestock stakeholders in Hawaii. We are your hosts, Mele Oshiro and
Shannon Sand.
And today we'll be talking about the Hawaii 4-H programs with our County Extension Agent, Becky Settlage. Thank you, Becky, for joining us today.
Yes.
Hey, everyone.
Hi. So Becky is the County Extension Agent for 4-H programs in East Hawaii. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Becky to share a little bit about her background and how she came into this position and job. So Becky, take it away.
Well, thanks for having me today. And as it's been mentioned, I'm the County Extension Agent here on the Big Island, and I oversee the 4-H Youth Development Program on the east side, as well as I handle the 4-H Livestock Program island-wide. And I've been working now with the University of Hawaii CTAR program for over 15 years.
Nice.
Wow,
nice.
yeah.
Got a little time in with us.
Yeah, just a little bit time.
Just a little bit.
It's a little season there. Yeah, yeah. So you cover, you mentioned 4-H programs across the youth as well as the livestock. You want to talk a little bit about, I guess, the livestock side of things, right? Because that's a big program and that's a statewide responsibility in your job. Is that correct?
There is a little bit of statewide responsibility that goes along with it for all of the 4-H livestock agents. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, my job responsibility is here on the Big Island.
Okay. And I know that that's a big program because your livestock youth folks, you know, I remember it when it was over at Milani and whatnot. So you want to talk a little bit about the livestock program and I guess, you know, what it's all about for the kids, you know, and you have typically there's an annual show, but we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But you want to share more about the livestock programs?
Yeah, sure. So the 4-H livestock program is probably one of our biggest programs that we do here on the Big Island, and even statewide. I think it's probably one of our largest interests from the 4-H members to do as a project. Mm-hmm. And over here on the Big Island, we do cattle projects, sheep projects, hog projects, goat projects, and then small animals, which typically are poultry, but we also do rabbit projects. And we typically will see some of our younger kids, our Clover Buds, which don't get an opportunity to actually do some of the same things as the older kids, as far as like selling their animals, but they can still learn about lap size animals. So typically you'll see with those kids, they do the chickens and or poultry and the rabbits projects.
So Clover Buds, this tells you my age. It's been so long since I've been in 4-H. I was saying Clover Buds, are they the under 8 category? Like
Correct.
4 to 8 or 5 to 8 or somewhere in that? I forgot the age range. Sorry.
Correct. Yeah, no, they're from age 5 years old to 8 years old as of the December 31st of the current year.
Nice.
So yeah. So, and it's a great opportunity for them to just learn and have fun without all of the things that the older kids have to do, like record books.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think they have
all the pressures
nearly
right.
All the pressures, exactly.
It's a little more difficult to keep records when you're 5 and 6.
Yeah,
yeah.
So
they're learning some of those life skills.
Yeah, for sure. They still have to learn to be responsible, right, with their animals and stuff. So what's the age range then for the older kids? They're 9 and up. Is that correct?
9 and up.
9 and up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way through high school for those guys, right? So
correct.
I mean, I've known some kids have been in the 4-H program from when they were Clover Buds, right? And just gone through everything. Like Shannon's raising her hand.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, technically they can do it, at least here in Hawaii, they can do 4-H programs or projects until they're 19. But most of the kids they graduate and they're like 17 years old. And a lot of them, go off to college and stuff. Yeah. And so we don't see very many, if at all, any, they once in a blue moon, somebody wants to do it, but the time commitment to attend club meetings and do all the other things that are involved, I think it gets a little hard to balance at all if you're in college. So, or after you get out of high school. So we don't really see that, but there is that option if there were youth that wanted to continue on.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that was one question I was going to ask you, like what, for the parent side, but what kind of commitment are you looking at on, the kids obviously are going to have the responsibility to, that's the point of it, is for them to learn how to do it on their own, but the parents do have to be involved as well. So what kind of involvement do you expect, or should parents anticipate if they want to have their children involved in the program?
Well, yeah, for the most part, again, we want the kids to do the work themselves. But it's a family affair. I mean, it's, we want the families to know what their kids are doing and be involved in it. We just don't want it to become the parents, project animal.
Right.
And, sometimes that's a little hard. Because again, we think about maybe those days when we grew up in 4-H and how much fun we had. And, maybe we did really well and always had a grand champion. And, we want to relive those moments, which is all great. But again, we have to always remember that this is the child's project. And so hopefully they are the ones that are doing all the work. But, I think you have to consider the child's age as well. A first year 9-year-old, trying to do any of the project areas are going to need some help. Especially like even if it's like a lamb, sometimes those lambs outweigh the member. And so it does take a little bit more work on the part of the parents to, help those kids out until their animals are gentled enough to be able to be handled by the child. And then, as they get older, there's more responsibility on them because of course they're old enough now to care for the animal, handle the animal, that kind of thing. And so by that time, the amount of work that the rest of the family or, the parents are doing should be pretty minimal. And I think for the most part, we see that, there's great support from the family, but the parents are making sure that their kids are doing the work. So that's good. Yeah. We don't have too much problems like you would see on the mainland and stuff. So that's not too bad.
Yeah, that's good. So what is the, if folks want to have their kids involved in the livestock side of things, when should they start to prepare? And like, I know there's certain times of the year that you have to get their animals by and all that kinds of stuff. So what's that time period, I guess, like when kids want to join up to become members?
Yeah. So this is personally me, what I would suggest is if you have kids that want to be involved doing a 4-H livestock project, our 4-H year starts off October 1st. So I would definitely be trying to get them into a club as early or as close to October 1st as possible. As far as the actual start dates for each project, it varies for each animal species. Our cattle projects start January 1st, and then our swine projects start in early March, as well as the swine and goats. I believe they start early April, and small animal projects kind of are more into April and May. And so, yeah, there's a lot of time frame between October and those dates, but you have to consider too that there's so much opportunities throughout the year that we want our 4-H members to be able to participate in, and we don't want them to miss out on all of those opportunities. So again, get them enrolled as early as possible. Right. Typically our cutoff date for returning members is the middle of November to be enrolled. New members, if there's a member or a new member, potential member coming on board that maybe is not really sure if they're going to do a project or not, they have that liberty to wait a little bit longer. But for myself, I like to put the cutoff date by the first Friday of February. We do hold a mandatory quality assurance program workshop that the kids have to either do online or hopefully in the future we'll be able to do them more in person, but they need to complete those projects or that training. And so in order for them to be able to, we want them to do those trainings prior to getting their animals. Right, and so if they wait too long, a lot of times the kids will be like, oh, well, I already have my animal. Well, it makes it really hard to kind of go back and correct maybe some things that they probably should have been doing with their animals related to quality assurance. So, again, the earlier to get them in, the better. And, and of course, again, we just want all of the kids to experience as much of 4-H as they possibly can and not have it just be that they're raising that animal.
Right.
To the show.
Yeah. Since you mentioned the show, when you guys have an annual show every year. I mean, of course, we've had some what do you call cancellations in certain things and postponements in certain things. And, we've had to change some programs across CTAR like anything else. But can we anticipate a livestock show this year for 4-H?
Yeah, and again, that's a good question. We've had to deal with COVID the last 2 years, and so that's kind of put a little bit of a challenge in our programs. But we've been very fortunate to have the support of our County Livestock Association, helping these kids to get their animal projects completed for the year. And we've had wonderful support too from, buyers that have helped these kids financially and buying those animals. So it's been great. Right now, currently, the Livestock Association is still working on the details for this year's livestock show and sale. But right now, I guess what I can tell you is we are moving forward as if we're going to be having our show and sale. Just kind of take note that anything can change depending on this COVID situation, but we're keeping our fingers crossed that we just keep moving forward. But we're looking to do our livestock show and sale on Friday and Saturday of June 17th and 18th.
Okay.
And it'll be held up in Waimea.
Okay.
Last few years, we've held it at the Rocking Chair Arena, and we'll probably be there again this year. Awesome. And we'll have a good selection of some, market and breeding cattle, market and breeding sheep, market hogs, breeding goats. And then we'll hopefully maybe even have a small number of poultry. So, we'll know more as time goes on. Right. Right now the kids are just getting their animals, and, we have screenings to go through and that sort of thing. And so we'll get a better idea of what's going to end up at the show come June. So, but we hope the community will come out and, support our 4-H members, because again, they've worked so hard putting, these projects together. And so we'd love to be able to see them after 2 years of COVID.
Yeah, it would be nice to be able to get there and see the kids in person. And they're always like really proud of their animals, and they want to show, and you always see them hanging out over there. So I give them a good credit for all that work they put in. So it'd be nice.
We did it. We were able last year to have, a small show, which was great, but it was by invitation only last year again because of COVID. So again, this year, our hope is to be able to keep it open to whoever's interested in coming out and supporting the kids.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great opportunity for those that are kind of thinking to get their kids involved, go and see the show if it's there, and, talk to some of the other members that are there and the kids, and just kind of find out what it's all about and see if your kid's really interested, because it's an investment, on both sides, the parents and the child. So I took my kid there when he was only, I think 3 at that time. And, he was hanging all over everything, but, we'll see. As he gets older, right, and gets to have to do more responsibilities.
And your interests change too, as you grow. So could be any of those things.
Good opportunity. So I have another question. So do all members of the 4-H club have to be part of the livestock, or there's other options, non-livestock options, right, for the 4-H members?
Yeah. So thanks for bringing that up. And so we are a lot more than just our 4-H livestock programs. Again, earlier I'd mentioned that it is one of our more popular project areas that kids like to get into. But yes, we are so much more than that. As far as our animal projects, again, a lot of our focus is on the beef, the hogs, and the sheep and goats, and then some of the small animals like poultry and rabbits. But other popular animal projects that we have involve horse. We do have a dog group. We hopefully this fall we'll have a llama group. And so again, it's more than just our livestock show that we do. And then of course, 4-H centers around a lot of other program areas involving civic engagement. So you're talking leadership, community service, healthy living. So looking at, our mind and body. So, social and emotional well-being, plus fitness, health, and nutrition, and safety. And then of course, then there's the science and agriculture programs. So that includes things like engineering and technology, environmental science, and of course, plant science. So most of our non-animal 4-H clubs, again, the last couple of years, they've taken COVID breaks, but we're hoping to, again, rebuild on some of those programs. And now that our restrictions are kind of slowly starting to lift. And so my hope is that this fall that we're going to be able to have some of our previous programs back, as well as, get some new ones started. And so we're looking to try to get our shooting sports program going again, offering some sewing and cooking projects. And then of course, we'll always probably have programs like our annual Hawaii County Giant Fruit Vegetable Contest, which, we've had now for 10 years, and it's been a very popular program as well. And, I do want to make a quick note too, that, again, our programs can't run as wonderful as they have been without the 4-H volunteers.
Yeah.
And so again, I mean, they give so much of their time, and so if you know of anybody that's interested in becoming a volunteer, or if they're, if they themselves are wanting to become a volunteer, please get a hold of us and let's get the process started of having you become a volunteer. And so you're able to share those talents that you have. And if they do it now, they'll be ready come October 1st. We can just get them off and running with their clubs, and it will be so wonderful and so great. And I should mention too that, we always think about the 4-H clubs, but 4-H is also in the schools. So we do a lot of school enrichment programs and after school programs. And in the past, I've also collaborated with other youth groups in the community. So like our county parks and rec facilities, in the area I've worked with, and as well YMCA. We've done programs with the Kama'aina Kid programs and after school all-star programs. So we're out there, trying to, because we're all in it for the same reason, for the kids. And so, these collaborations that we do from time to time, helps everyone, as a whole. And so, so again, there's a lot of ways to get involved with our 4-H program.
Nice. That's so exciting to hear how just the different programs that are out there for the kids. I always feel like the breadth and depth of 4-H has just evolved so much over the past couple decades. It's just so much more than it was, So, okay. So if someone wants to get their kids involved, where can they find out some additional information about getting involved, or do they contact you, or are there other points of contact to find out about the different clubs and things like that? Or if someone wants to get their kids involved, how do they go about that?
Yeah. So for the most part, anyone that is interested in joining 4-H usually will typically give me a call here at my office. Right now, through, I believe it's about the middle of May. That we have the Tractor Supply Company's 4-H paper clover campaign happening right now, and so we do have a display. So if anybody is around during that time, stop on by and take a look at our display. And we do have a few sign-up sheets there on the table, on the display table, so people can leave their contact information. And at the end of the Paper Clover campaign, I'll pick that up and we'll start making some contacts with people and start looking at how we can, get these interested families involved with 4-H. So that's another good way. We do have our Facebook page that I try to keep pretty current, and as things come about, I do list them on there, and I do have an Instagram page as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So they can find us on Instagram at East Hawaii 4-H.
Okay.
And then our Facebook, they can search East Hawaii 4-H and Hawaii County 4-H Livestock. And that's all one. That's the whole title for that Facebook page. It's kind of long, but if you start typing in East Hawaii 4-H, it'll pop right up anyway. So.
Okay, good.
And we'll put all the links.
We'll link it in the show notes in the description box. So
sure. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, thank you so much, Becky, for sharing all of that. Is there anything else you want to add about the 4-H programs? I think one thing I'd like you to highlight is your giant vegetable contest and that you guys do, because that was pretty amazing. I mean, and it was great because you guys were still able to do some of that when we were kind of locked down from doing anything during COVID. So you want to share a little bit more about that, because that was a really cool thing, I think.
Yeah, sure. So about 10 years ago, we got this all started with just growing giant pumpkins and seeing the popularity of it and seeing how much fun people had. It was really hard for us to not continue it from that point on. And 10 years later, we're still doing this program. But now not only are we just growing giant pumpkins, but we're doing giant tomatoes, giant watermelons, you name it. We're growing lots of different types of giant fruits and vegetables. That's so cool. So it's just now getting started. Our first set of plants will be going out to those that signed up probably at the end of May, and then the plants will be going out at different times from about the end of May through about early July, roughly. And so they'll be growing them through the summer, and then our hope is that come September we'll have entries that people can bring in and we'll weigh them. Hopefully we get some new state records, and maybe if we're lucky enough, put Hawaii on the map for growing something really, really big.
Yeah. So, that would be awesome.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Cool. And, it's not an easy contest to do. I'll put that out there, but, those that have done it and maybe weren't successful at getting something to the scale had so much fun that they come back and do it again. And so we tell everybody, make sure you have some realistic goals, even though these seeds genetically have the potential to grow really monster size fruits and vegetables. Again, you need to be able to know what it is that you're doing to really get the full potential from it. But for the most part, you can get some pretty decent sized fruits and vegetables. And again, you have to start with your very first personal best and then, work up from there. So it's a lot of fun. And so I hope to be able to continue this program for many, many more years.
Yeah. Awesome.
Nice.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. Well, thank you so much again for joining us today, Becky. We hope our listeners found some of this information very informative, and we'll check out some of the opportunities for either becoming a 4-H member or just attending the Livestock Show and supporting our members that way. Yeah. Also, if you have not already done so, Shannon and I are still seeking your feedback on our Feedback Fest. So please let us know your thoughts about this podcast or any of the other ones that you have listened to. If you would like to hear other topics, guests, or like I said, what you would want to hear more of.
Yeah. And make sure to join our Facebook page, the Livestock Extension Group, if you haven't already. Be sure to visit the UHCTAR Extension website and our YouTube channel listed in the show notes.
Yeah, and for additional information about this topic, we'll also link 4-H clubs in the show notes of the podcast and the description box of our YouTube page. Thanks again for listening to the Livestock Walaʻau. Before we go, show some love for your favorite podcast. That's us, by the way. Leaving us a review on Apple Podcast, and stay tuned for next month's episode.
Thanks again to our sponsors, the Western Extension Risk Management Education Center, USDA NIFA, the Livestock Extension Group, and CTAR. Ahui ho.
Ahui ho.